Scientology's founder L. Ron Hubbard ordered his followers to attack critics by any means possible.
You're committing suppressive acts.
The Fair Game policy, written by Hubbard, decreed that enemies of Scientology may be deprived of property or injured by any means by any Scientologist without any discipline of the Scientologist, may be tricked, sued, or lied to, or destroyed.
We are recording. Hell yes. I'm here today talking with Chris Malin, the former UK's top Scientology auditor. Hi Chris, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Hello Kelly, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So, Scientology say that fair game policy is cancelled. Now, do you agree or disagree with this statement?
It's only cancelled in terms of the name. The actions required for fair gaming are still very much policy. The policies that L. Ron Hubbard wrote about how you fair game are still present and active policies. But the actual name of what you do is not policy.
We have spoken and you've said that this has been happening to you since you've actually left the church. Do you think that the Church of Scientology considers you a threat in some way?
I do, but I also think that they think I'm a bit of a nobody and that I have no power really to do much. They are wrong.
Why would someone like you be a threat to Scientology, Chris?
So I would be a threat because I'm OT5 on the grade chart. I've audited over 18,000 hours of auditing. I was a Class 5 graduate case supervisor and International Auditor of the Year. So I know a lot of the tech. I know a lot about what goes on behind the scenes with things, especially in terms of covering up criminality if they're big donators. I know a ton of confidential material. But it's my knowledge that could be a threat, and it was because of my knowledge is why predominantly I was declared, because they knew that I was not on board with Dave Miscavige's current plans.
And you've spoken a few other interviews you've done online about some of the things, you had to tolerate as an auditor, and I won't make you go through them again here today.
Please don't.
No, I won't. I will link those interviews in the description if anybody wants to go and see that, and I recommend that you do because they are incredibly, incredibly insightful. I thought you did really well in those interviews to say some of the stuff that you said. It was hard to stomach for me listening to it, but I thought you did amazing.
Those interviews were my interview with Aaron and especially my 3-hour marathon with Doug Kramer. I felt like all my emotions had been ripped out of me. I was absolutely exhausted. I was just like, oh my God, wow. Yeah.
Well, don't worry, we're not going to go into that today, so we'll leave that one, and you guys watching can go and check that out. So, since you have left the Church of Scientology, have you yourself received any fair game action?
Yeah, I mean, I actually left unofficially, sort of mentally and in spirit left many years ago, and sort of not long after I finished my staff contract, I didn't even go in the org for many years, and I was quote unquote what they call recovered a few times. It means the way of going about getting that person to pay money for more courses or more auditing again, with a period of inactivity prior to that. And I was inactive because I disagreed with what they did with the org in Birmingham, moving it to a location where nobody knows and nobody walks past and it's just dead. I was very vocal about the fact that I felt that this was a massive wrong move. We were actually going to buy a building right in the city centre, and it was a former bank. And, for people who are watching over the world who probably don't know, Birmingham is the second largest city in the UK, and it's second to the capital of London. And you can imagine how busy the city centre gets. So in the org that I worked at, we had the second highest body traffic in the world, next to New York. And that is a fact. So taking that away and moving it and putting it in the outskirts of Birmingham was, to me, insane.
Yeah, it almost sounds like they don't want people to come in, hey?
Yeah, I mean, I wondered that a lot, and I was not on board with it. I refused to go to any Ideal Org events. I was the only staff member, I think, in the whole org that didn't pay any money towards the Ideal Org out of my own wages. I was starting to be considered what they call in Scientology disaffected.
You're disaffected, and then this is when the fair game begins. Is that correct?
To some slight degree, I would say that. Let me make sure I've got my timeline accurate on this. So then Golden Age of Tech 2 then came out. That I disagreed with as well, especially the way it was rolled out. I felt it was actually disgusting and off policy completely, cancelling everybody's certificates worldwide, including my own that I'd spent a decade working for very little money and extremely long hours. I was not a happy chappy, and neither were others. And then I kind of vocal about that with my boss at the org, and I was just like, I'm not doing this. And then my contract was coming to an end anyway. If you're training to be an auditor, you have to do a minimum of 5 years. And that 5 years doesn't actually start until you start on post and finish your training.
What less than minimum wage job makes you sign a 5-year contract? That's insane.
Yeah. So I did that. And then when I was posted, and when you get posted, you start your 5-year contract when you get posted, right? And if you break that prior to that, you get billed and have to pay for all the courses that you've just done. And we're talking 20, 30, 40,000 pounds, right? So I did my training and I did my 5-year, and then you sign 2.5-year contracts after that. And any training or auditing that you receive during those 2.5 years, if you break that 2.5-year contract, you have to pay back, dude.
Freeloader debt, hey?
Well, yeah, but you only hear really on ex-Scientology channels freeloader debts in relation to Sea Org, but what people need to understand is that it happens in Class 5 orgs as well.
Yeah. So did you break your contract then?
No, I finished it. I finished it to the day. And not only did I finish it to the day, I did an extra 2 to 3 weeks on top to finish off my current pre-clears auditing programs. And then I left, and then I started working as a professional musician again, which I loved. And I was working in the real world, and I just felt so free. I was like, wow. And what you're told in Scientology is that if you leave staff, you will be unsuccessful. You will end up working in McDonald's. You will end up working in Burger King.
Also, no shade to anyone that works in McDonald's or in Burger King. I hear they pay quite well now.
They do.
So no shade to any of those jobs at all.
Absolutely not. And I worked in McDonald's when I was 16, when I was in music college. So, and it's not a bad job at all, actually. But they use that to sort of degrade you into staying, to make you feel that the world out there, you cannot be a success.
Yeah, there's this fear mongering about the world as well, isn't it? Like it's dangerous and it's full of drug dealers and you'll probably be homeless and depressed and all of this fear mongering. The world's a big scary place.
Yeah. I mean, Kelly, I was told so many things as I was leaving, because in the United Kingdom, being one of the most productive auditors, in fact, the most productive auditor outside of St. Hills since LRH even founded St. Hill, I was told so many horrible things that would happen to me if I left. I was told that my dynamics would cave in, which is, the 8 dynamics that you have broken down in Scientology, which includes you and your relationships and your group and the physical universe and animals and plants and so on. I was told that all those dynamics will implode and I won't survive. In the back of my mind, I knew they were wrong. If a staff member wanted to leave, either mid a contract or at the end of a contract, sometimes they'd subtly push this "you're a degraded being" idea in order to control and coerce you to a point where you are guilt shamed so much that you will just automatically resign, even though you don't want to, because you don't want that kind of label over your head that you are an ex staff member. If somebody's ex staff, it's almost automatically assumed that that person is either degraded or has undisclosed overt some withholds, which are transgressions.
When you're working there every day, let's say, you've had a bad day. We're humans, right? We're not always in a good mood. Sometimes it's just not a good day. Is there pressure to be overly positive and cheery, or else you're seen as, having case on post, or, being PTS or whatever? Did you feel that pressure while you were there?
That's a great question, and I have an answer for that. And the answer is no. You were kind of seen as cool as a staff member if 1 minute you're happy and the next minute you're screaming your face off at somebody. Being volatile and being able to move up and down what Scientology called the tone scale, where you've got the top being ultimate happiness and the bottom being just degraded and just whatever. If you're able to move up and down that at will, you're considered a higher caliber of persons. If you were the sort of person that other people would have to tread on eggshells around all the time, you were considered cool. You were a hardcore Scientologist. I bet you didn't know that.
I didn't know. Everyone thinks you're a hard ass, a little bit afraid of you.
If you could inspire a culture of fear and happiness at the same time, if you could literally just ruin somebody and then the next day make them feel like they were the best person in the world, you are a hardcore Scientologist. There are some very good and caring people there. There really are, who genuinely believe that they are doing the best. The problem is that the culture is completely toxic.
Yeah, well, speaking on that, we were just talking about what happened after you finished your contract with them. And like you said, these people believe they're doing the best and, acting in with the best intentions. But what was it that they did with you as someone who left?
To be honest with you, it was mostly being involved in the breakup of my marriage and family unit, really. Knowing what to do that would really upset me. It was a very instrumental and plotted path. They didn't have anything with which to kick me out with, but they wanted me to react and wanted me gone. So by attacking my family, that kind of started because I was not going in the org, and it was like Chris Malin is disaffected and Chris Malin's this and Chris Malin's that. Like Scientology, they love to label people things like all the time. If you can't label somebody, there's a problem.
Hey, I've been at SP since I was 6, Chris. Don't worry about it.
I heard that, and that's a terrible thing, man. I can't believe that they did that to you, really. Well, actually, I can believe it. I can believe it.
Hey, I wear it like a badge of honor. When you said they attacked you and your family, if you don't feel comfortable sharing that, that's absolutely fine. But if you do, what exactly did they do to attack you guys?
It was just that there was this other auditor in the org, and he was seen as being what they call in Scientology on purpose, which means if you're on purpose, you're doing what Dave Miscavige is ordering. And he was considered on purpose, and he was sort of positioned in coordination with OSA really to infiltrate my family, and successfully did so. To get me out the picture. Yeah. So there was that, and then there was the whole police investigation malarkey, which was done in coordination with OSA, which I talk about in Doug's channel, that I don't really want to get into again.
That's okay.
Because it's horrible. Yeah, it was like the worst time of my life. It was horrific. And then there was that. This was before I was even declared. And that police investigation was run by, or was helped by, the Office of Special Affairs.
Why do you think that they did this? Like you said, you weren't even declared. You know, you're not even a suppressive person.
Because I had information. Yeah, I know, but I was not on board with the Ideologue project, and I was not on board with Golden Age Tech 2 at all. Like, I was like, this has got to be a joke.
And do you think they wanted to scare you?
Yeah, they wanted me to be silent. Now, having been an auditor for so many years and having been liked by 99.9% of my PCs, and being very well liked and known at St. Hill as well, and having a lot of friends there, what I said carried weight. The problem is that that can plant a seed of doubt into other people's heads. So they had to give me a commit of evidence and declare me, and they just dug up whatever they could find. I mean, reports from 20 years ago that I'd never even seen.
As in knowledge reports?
Yes, from years gone by. Like, it was just whatever they could find. You know, even the smallest little things.
They're weaponizing your own family against you as well, you know, using them as part of this whole thing, which, you know, that I can't even imagine how awful that must have been to go through, Chris. Like, you know, I'm sorry to hear it. I'm so glad to have, you know, heard of you, and you have come out on YouTube and have been speaking about your experiences so candidly and so openly and honestly.
Well, you've got to be real in the world, haven't you? I mean, you know, in a world that's fake, which it really is currently, everyone's like, it's so fake. You just got to be honest. And this is what Scientology hated about me.
Have you found that since you've come online into this online space, which is a whole different kettle of fish for Scientology to deal with? They cannot manage what is going on the internet because there's just too much. Have you found their behaviour has changed towards you? Have you noticed any strange happenings or anything like that?
I have. This was probably a week after I did my interview with Doug Kramer. I saw this guy. Where I live, I know everybody. And this guy looked out of place, and he was looking at me. It was just weird. Like, I can't put my finger on it. And so that kind of went away. And then the night that I was about to go live with Aaron for the first time, I was in my local pub in the garden with my dog, just having a drink and collecting my thoughts, and yeah, just trying to get some space and thinking about what I'm going to talk about. And he walks past me and he looks at me and he starts laughing. He says something like, "I know you," or something.
And this is the same guy from before, right? This is the same dude.
Same guy from before. I recalled when I saw him that I'd actually seen him before. Now, this could all be coincidence. I could just be being a bit paranoid, you know, like I'm quite logical in my thought, but I don't let my emotions sort of get the better of what's going on in my head. But this guy then tracked back, and my dog, who was in the garden, started barking at him through the gate. And then he bent down and he tried to give my dog a dog treat. And I was like, no, 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 no. Anyway, he didn't give it to him, and he walked away laughing. Now, the dog treat that I saw they were the same dog treats that they have in my local pub, but it was never in the pub. He didn't come in. And then I saw him again a few days later.
So you've seen this guy 3 times.
3 times.
Now, you know, we don't want to start any conspiracies or anything, but there have been reports of people's furry friends being, you know, poisoned and things like that. And I can imagine, you know, you'd be worried about that. You know, I've also seen your dog. Your what's your dog's name again? I forget.
Simba.
Little Simba is such a cutie.
Let's go live, Simba.
I can imagine, you know, obviously you would be protective about that. You know, so that may or may not be a coincidence, as we say.
It could be a complete coincidence, but the fact that it happened just an hour before I was about to go live with Aaron is very strange.
We know as well what you were talking on that live stream with Aaron about was, you know, serious criminal situation within there. We won't talk about it here. I will link it for you guys if you want to see it, because I'm sure you don't want to talk about it all again either.
Not again.
No, and I would like to not make you go through that. So I do think you're awesome for having spoken out about that. What about in your like job and stuff? Have you felt like anything's been going on there?
Yeah, I'm a professional musician, and I perform all over the country every weekend, 2 to 3 times a week. And there's been 2 occasions where I've played in a city that has an org not far from my venue, and there's been 2 occasions where staff members were across the street, um, looking at me and watching me unload my equipment. Now, that could again be just random that they're there, right? But I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, there could be fans. You never know.
I hope not, because I'd kick them out.
No, it's fair enough. Yeah, that is creepy. How do how does it make you feel, this stuff going on? Like, I get there's a level of paranoia anyway of the kind of stuff they might do, which you will be well aware of. But, I think you mentioned to me as well, like you had some calls and things, prank calls.
Yeah, I did. I think it was like 3 days after my interview with, I can't remember if it was with Aaron or whether it was Doug Kramer. I can't remember which guy, but I was just getting bombarded with calls from all over the UK, different numbers. I must have had like 4 or 5 in one morning, and I'm like, this is a bit strange. I thought I'll start answering them. So I answered one, and it just went, whoever was on the other line just went, Chris. And then the line went dead. And then I answered another one a bit later, and it went, Chris. And then the line went dead. So I don't know. It could just be that my phone number had leaked onto a big mailing list of spam calling for products. But it's a bit weird that all that happened over the course of, I think it was 1.5 days. But I just systematically went through my iPhone, blocking everyone. So I don't get them anymore.
Yeah, that's creepy, dude. That is super creepy. And also, like, that happened to me when I went on a video with Aaron. I started getting phone calls from, not prank calls, but I got a phone call from Church of Scientology London. Then I had people internationally reaching out. So, it's not out of the realm of possibility, and also not necessarily a coincidence that that's happened, So I don't think he's being super paranoid about that.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't want to get into like, oh, I'm a paranoid sort of victim type mentality. But it all is a bit coincidental and all a little odd. The good news is, though, is that I do live in a what's called a cul-de-sac. I don't know if anyone outside of the UK knows what one of those are, but anyway, you can drive into it, but you can't drive out of it. So the only real reason that you would ever go into it really is either A, you took a wrong turn, or B, you live there. So if there was ever a private investigator who wanted to film my house, A, you can't park anywhere in my street other than a drive, because it's all double yellow lines, which means you can't park there. So he'd have to park on someone's house. And yeah, it just ain't happening.
No, fair enough. And that's at least good for you, hey? Good news for that. Have you considered talking to like the authorities or the police or anything? Do you think they would do anything about this? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, part of what I would class as fair gaming, and Scientology would completely disagree with this. They will say that's not fair gaming. I know because they've told me, but I said it was. Is that they had, in my committee of evidence, I'm confronted and sitting in a room with 4 SEAL members who I've never met before. I don't know who these people are. And they've got naked photos of me and on blown up A4 sheets of paper on the desk. And they're looking at them. And I look at it and I go, how the hell did you get that? Right? So they didn't answer me. Who was running the com, I've quickly closed the paper that had those images in. Then a few days later, I emailed the secretary of the committee of evidence, and I said, I noticed that you had naked images of me in my committee of evidence. I said, this is disgusting, this is illegal, and it carries a 5-year prison sentence for everybody who's viewed them. in the UK. It's called revenge porn.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And do you know what the answer back was? Okay, we will destroy the images, and I'm sorry, but it was relevant to your ComEv.
Any job, because let's be honest, this is a job that you were doing.
Yeah, of course.
Being paid for, not very much, being paid for, part of an organisation, no evaluation, one-to-one, intervention.
Yep.
None of those things would involve what you've just described there.
No.
You know, that is absolutely insane. And I imagine you'd be furious, like, that's awful.
I was furious, and I actually emailed them a solicitor letter. Because first of all, I tried to get myself undeclared, right? I didn't say this on Doug's interview, so this is a bit of a breaking news story for you.
Wait, I'll put the music in. I'll put the.
Not that it's not that in breaking news. Dun dun dun. So I said to them, I said, look, for the sake of my children, 1, just undeclare me, right? 2, you go your way and I'll go mine. 4, I will even sign an NDA agreement that I won't speak out. Just remove the declare. I don't want to be a Scientologist anymore. But I won't bother you. You don't bother me. Let's just go our separate ways and live our lives. Where my kids' future, if they decide to join Scientology, won't be a problem. Right? Do you know what the answer was? Nothing. For 2 years. They didn't even reply to it. And this went straight to Mike Ellis, International Justice Chief of the Kant Justice Chief. And it was a heartfelt, actual goddamn email that could secure the fact of a father having a good relationship with his children and his children having a good relationship with his dad for the rest of their life.
That's awful. And with you willing to, you know, with all you know and stuff, willing to sign yourself to silence and never say anything. Yeah, that's crazy.
Exactly. And hence, I'm here and I'm mad. What they don't understand is, I don't know if your viewers have ever watched the Peaky Blinders.
I don't know. Leave it in the comments below if you've seen the Peaky Blinders. I've seen episodes, but I'm not a Peaky Blinders obsessive. I know the general vibes.
Yeah, well, they're gangsters who operated in Birmingham, in my hometown. And my grandfather used to be a Peaky Blinder. He worked for the Shelby family, and many others for quite several years. So there is a bit of gangster in me, and I won't be messed with. You know, my family all come from a line of professional soldiers. My great-grandfather was in the Boer War in Africa. He was in charge of a company of 25 men. My grandfather fought in World War II. It's like, I just want to live my life in peace, you know. But if you try and intrude on my peace, I'll make it hell.
No, I respect it.
And I don't mean that as a threat. That's just like, it's sort of like a natural kind of instinct. So.
Well, you heard it here, everyone. Don't mess with Chris.
I'm not saying that. You can mess with me, right? But you might, you know. It's not a big deal, but like only in serious matters. I'm not petty about things. It's like, you know, when it comes to like the future of my family and my children's future and things like that, yeah, it's serious. And if you don't take it serious, there's something wrong with you, man. It's like,
absolutely. What were we talking about before? Oh, we were talking about the authorities, like police, or, you know, you said you messaged a solicitor and stuff. Like,
I did, and the problem that I have with that case, it's a very specific problem, is that I have to implicate other people into it that I don't want implicated.
So your care for those people is what's stopping you from going forward with it?
Yeah, because everyone who had a hand in that has committed an illegal act that is punishable up to 5 years jail. Now, I could literally have 5 SEALG members sent to jail tomorrow, right? But, and this is my power, this is my bargaining card, and this is why they won't mess with me, and I have evidence of all of it. So, but if I did go ahead with that. It could cause a lot of problems for others who I don't want to have problems. So it's a tough one, you know. But guess what? If those people I don't want to cause problems for start causing me too many problems, I'm going to press the big red button.
I mean, you know, from what I've heard of you speaking on your interviews and stuff, you do seem like a genuinely caring person, and I can totally see why you're conflicted, you know, with this particular thing. In regards to like law enforcement or anything like that, if, for example, they were following you or, you know, harassing you, would you feel that you could talk to your local police about it? Have you ever spoke to them about it?
Yeah, the answer to that question is yes. And it's very interesting that I actually called before I did my interview with Doug and Aaron. I called the police and I explained the whole situation. The police lady was actually amazed. We had a great chat actually with this police lady. I was talking to her for like at least 20 minutes, and she had heard of Scientology Fair Gaming.
Wow.
Yeah, she knew about the pet thing and Danny Masterson and obstruction of justice. And I couldn't believe that she knew. I was like, what? And she said, her exact words were, Chris, don't worry, we've got you back. So if they try anything, bring it.
Well,
And I
that's...
hope OSA are watching.
Yes. Hi, Osa. No.
Yeah, because you're going to have the police on you.
Yeah. You can leave, though. You can leave right now. Get out of there. This fair game stuff is absolutely insane, and I might put in some inserts of some other cases of it. You know, there was a lady from the UK called Bonnie Woods. I don't know if you've heard of her before.
I did. And all I heard, it's really funny about this because all I heard while I was in Scientology is how much of a bad person Bonnie Woods was. Oh, she was spoken about in corridors for decades.
That's wild. You know, she's this really sweet old lady, but she's like gone to all these
She was infamous, man. She was like the devil.
She was definitely infamous, but you know, she's a badass. She's gone to all these like anonymous protests and things, and she actually sued the Church of Scientology for this fair gaming for the harassment, and she won. She won.
Can I just say about the anonymous thing that while I was in, the anonymous thing was happening and started, and I just want to say categorically for anyone who watches this, I utterly disagree with the way they went about it. This is not me defending Scientology. This is me observing them doing what they did. Okay, quick story. So one time, it was a Sunday, and I had my 4-year-old daughter in the org. I walk out the org, down the lift, and I've got my daughter in my arms. I open the doors, and Birmingham City Centre on a Sunday afternoon is pretty dead, really. But I open the doors, and there are 100 people wearing V for Vendetta masks, standing right in front of me, staring at me, not moving. And my daughter starts to cry, and she's 4 years old, right?
I mean, I think I would start to cry. That sounds terrifying.
It gets worse. That's my favourite phrase. It seems to be. I get a lot of comments on Doug Kramer's and Aaron's videos that, Chris, it gets worse. He says it a lot, but it does.
It's the title of your new book.
Yeah, that's a great title, actually. They started to march towards me and my 4-year-old daughter. Slowly, one step at a time. They took a left step, took a right step, stopped. Took a left step, took a right step, stopped. Can you imagine being 4 years old, having 100 people in masks doing that coming towards you?
Yeah, scary, really scary.
I'm sorry, but anonymous to me, disgusting. I have no respect at all. And there was another time when they came in the org and they started trashing the org. Like literally, they went into reception, they started pushing over flowers. They took the telephone, started ripping it out the thing. They assaulted 3 staff members, and 3 of them ended up with criminal records. So, dudes, that's not the way to go about it. And anytime I hear any ex-Scientologist talk about how great that anonymous thing was, I think, dude, come on, they're just kids.
Yeah, it's fair enough. And, you know, with a group like that where there is that anonymity, there will be, you know, I have no doubt that there will be at least a number of them that are there for, good purposes to, stop or at least expose what Scientology is doing. But with that anonymity comes an excuse for people to, terrorize and riot and vandalize other groups. So
Yep, and that's what they did, and it makes me very mad. And the fact that they, 100 guys standing outside the org would willingly scare a 4-year-old girl. I'm sorry, but whoever ordered that is just disgusting. I love children, and I want to protect them as much as possible. And I mean, I'm a part-time teacher as well, so I work with children on a daily basis, and I really enjoy it and helping them with their troubles and things like that. So yeah, they went about it all wrong. Yeah. And that was from someone who was in and hardcore at the time. Anonymous, you done messed up.
yeah, and that is absolutely fair for you to say, Chris. If there is some ex-members out there, in the UK or otherwise, and they're being fair gamed, do you have any advice? What do you think they should do about that?
To be honest with you, I don't think fair gaming happens that much in the UK that it's an issue. Unless you're somebody who's highly trained or highly audited or very outspoken about Dave Miscavige and was in Scientology a long time, like me. I really didn't see that much, really. Unless you take legal action against them, I don't think you have to worry. I mean, I threatened them with legal action, which is probably what may have triggered some of the stuff. I'm not sure. And to be honest, I don't care. There's not much they can do. I mean, it's not a recognized religion in the UK anyway. They've got no First Amendment rights over here.
Yeah, and it's exactly why people want the tax exemption revoked in the States, isn't it? Because they're protected so heavily by that.
It is. And I have to be honest with you, Kelly, the problem is they've got that much money that revoking tax exemption is not going to do that much. And I know that I saw a lot of people disagreeing. I said that on Aaron's channel, or was it Doug's? I can't remember which, but that it won't make much. These guys have got multiple billions of dollars. I mean, it doesn't matter. They could afford to do anything they like. So the tax exemption, it would be, if you wanted to bring it down, it would be a start, and it could trigger something major as a result of it and have consequences. But ultimately, but ultimately Scientology will still be there.
Yeah, I think the main thing it will do is will stop protecting them with the First Amendment, won't it? So that when cases do go to court about them, human trafficking, that kind of thing, they're not protected by the First Amendment, and judges can look at what the policies say, what the reports are saying. It's not protected by that religious thing. That, I think that's even more than the money, really.
Yeah, I think the only way to do it is to do it that way that you just mentioned, take off the tax exemption, but then you've got to secure all assets and money. Assets includes money, doesn't it? If Scientology has no money, it has no power, and its power is money. Like, I'm not that clued up on US law, but I know for a fact that they have a lot of offshore accounts that can't be touched, that are out of the jurisdiction of whatever court or police force in America would want to press charges against. If you have offshore accounts, it's the money's still there. But here's the thing that concerns me is that Dave Miscavige is the only body that knows the account numbers, probably. I don't know, man. This guy, he could literally just get on a plane and be a billionaire and just live a life of luxury. I mean, he lives more of a life of luxury than L. Ron Hubbard ever did.
He could disappear, change his name.
He could. Absolutely. And he probably has contingency plans in place to do that.
Allegedly, we won't speculate on that kind of stuff. But I'm so glad to have you here, because you do say what you think, and we're here to have an open discussion about this stuff. And I get it that some people don't like everyone's opinions and all of that jazz, and that is absolutely fine. If any of you guys disagree with anything you've heard today, you are welcome to leave it in the comments, and we'll continue the discussion always. Thank you, Chris, for being here today. If anybody watching right now has been involved in a coercive group, Scientology or another cult, please have a look in the description. I will leave some links of where you can get some more information and advice. If any of you are wondering if you want to come out and talk to me or be on the show or something like that, feel free to email me at hellokellycopter@gmail.com. I'll leave that in the description too.
It's okay, Simba is staring at me.
Yeah?
He's just standing there staring at me. What's the matter? Do you want to say goodbye to everybody? Come here, Simba. You want to say goodbye? You can say goodbye.
Well, from
Bye-bye.
From myself, from Chris, and from Simba, goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video.
Woof woof.
Woof woof.
Stop committing suppressive acts. Full-time suppressive acts.
And then they sent bomb threats to themselves. And they had me arrested for a terrorist crime that I not only didn't commit, but I didn't know what was going on.
Today, the Church of Scientology issued a statement in response to actress Leah Remini's explosive lawsuit alleging years of harassment, stalking, and psychological torture.